I'd like to welcome Tracy to have a chat with us about hair. Tracy is a hairdresser, and you've been working for how long, Tracy?
Hi, Peter. Yeah, I've been hairdressing in the industry for around 25 years now, which is quite a long time, I guess. Yeah, I've seen a lot of different types of hair and women at different stages in their life and their hair loss issues. I've been around for a while now.
Yeah, so one of the big things we wanted to talk about is how your hair can or may, and this doesn't happen to everyone, be affected after a pregnancy loss.
It is something that I definitely see through all stages of pregnancy and pregnancy loss, actually. There is a real timeline, I guess, with when you become pregnant and noticing the density increasing quite a lot when you're pregnant. And then with pregnancy loss or after pregnancy, that change in your hair, which is quite gradual, I think. It is just a very gradual hair loss that occurs from hormones, but up until about, I find, 10 months after. What I notice the most is an increase of new hair that's actually growing, which sits at around about an inch, I think, around 10 months after pregnancy loss. And I find that's the hardest time to sort of work out what to do with the hair because it's hard to style, the texture's different, and you're struggling with having thin hair on the mids to ends but thick at the root area.
One of the things that we did note when we did the research is that the hair doesn't shed straight away. It can take up to 2 months before it begins. And in a pregnancy loss, a lot of the other symptoms have gone by then. So it's kind of a bit shocking for some women when all of a sudden they start to see more hair on the pillow or in the hairbrush. Are there any tips that you can give them?
Definitely. Like I was saying earlier, it is such a gradual thing that creeps up and lasts for quite a while. So that light shedding that comes doesn't feel overly noticeable with how your hair looks for quite a while, but can be quite stressful at the same time. So reducing the amount of heavy brushing to try and remove what you think is just excess hair is probably not advised. So just be a little more gentle with the hair. The same with shampooing, not as vigorously or as often. The hair, or as your skin is as well, and the skin on the scalp is often a lot drier in pregnancy and changes after pregnancy and pregnancy loss. There isn't really the real need to be excess shampooing, I feel. You just need to be delicate with the hair and not so forceful. Another trick, or it's not even a trick or a tip, it is something that I suggest for most people that are dealing with hair loss for any reason, as well as whilst being pregnant, knowing that you will shed and lose hair after, is getting into a really good hair care regime with a brand that targets hair loss or stimulating more hair growth. A brand that I like to use is in the Aveda range called Invati, and I use that on myself and did notice significant improvements with the amount of hair that I retained after pregnancy and have had really good results and feedback from other clients. I do feel just regularly using that shampoo helps quite a bit to keep the hair that you've got. And afterwards, there is a revitaliser, which is an on-scalp treatment that you use daily, which helps to stimulate more hair growth. So if that is something that you want to include into the regime, I can highly recommend that. And the biggest thing is which is the hardest thing to do, is to not stress too much about the hair loss, because I feel that often makes things a lot worse and contributes to more hair loss and shedding. Any form of worry and stress, which is not an easy thing just to say, don't be worried, but just try and minimise as much friction on the hair, treat it delicately, and look into a hair care regime that works really well for you.
How about heat?
Heat. Well, that works more with condition of the hair. So the healthier your hair is, the less snapping and breakage you get. I would say heat isn't a bad thing on hair as long as you're using a heat protector and using heat responsibly. Don't have an issue at all with people using heat. The only downside, if you're blow drying excessively, that means you're dragging a brush through the hair more often. So limit doing that more than once or twice a week, I would say.
How about soft ties in your hair and stuff like that?
I also find another good tip would be definitely don't sleep with wet hair. That creates matting, and when you need to brush the hair, you will need to get more knots out, creates friction. It also can snap the hair depending on the condition. A nice loose ponytail or plait low down with a silk, if you can. A silk hair tie would be my recommendation. Silk pillowcases are also really good to sleep on to reduce friction, and that will also help to reduce how much hair sheds.
Thank you so much, Tracy, for all those tips. We really appreciate you giving us some advice around hair.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you.